What happens when some of the most important places in the Bible are still there, but almost nobody knows they exist?
Just south of Jerusalem, in the heart of biblical Judea, sits an ancient water system that sustained the temple itself for centuries. But today, it's hidden behind politics, conflict, and competing narratives about who truly belongs in the land. And once you see it, you start to realize this story is about far more than archaeology.
So on this podcast for the Jewish Road, we are joined by Ryan Levin from the Efrat Foundation. In fact, we were there in Efrat just last year and walked through the first group to see it in centuries, in fact, even millennia. And we got to see the uncovering of the story behind Solomon's pools, why this region matters so deeply to the biblical story, and what restoring these ancient sites reveals about Israel, identity, and this ongoing story of the Jewish people. Welcome, this is the Jewish Road Podcast. Hey, shalom, my name is Matt Davis, and I'm here with my dad.
Hey, I'm Ron.
And this is the Jewish Road Podcast, and we're here with a friend at the NRB, Ryan Levin. Shalom to you.
Welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
We all happen to find ourselves in this little town called Nashville.
Indeed.
And none of us are from here.
This is true. I come from a town in Israel called Efrat, which is in the Judean hills south of Jerusalem.
Efrat.
It's been a long travel to get here.
Yeah, we drove 3 hours and it took you like 3 days, bro.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So we're going to talk about this because where you are from is the whole reason we're here today.
Okay.
This place that we say in English is Efrat, and people are probably listening saying, what is Efrat? Never heard of it. And
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. So give us some background. What is this place? It's in Israel. We know that much, right?
Very much true. Yeah, absolutely. So Efrat actually has a lot of biblical significance. It's mentioned interchangeably in the Bible, Efrat and Ephrata.
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 How we'd say it in English and especially in Kentucky is Ephrata.
Ephrata.
Right, okay.
Ephrata often means in reference to the road, the way towards Efrat. Efrat sits just south of Bethlehem, which itself is south of Jerusalem. So Bethlehem and Efrat oftentimes used, again, as interchangeable terminology to refer to that location. At the end of the day, Efrat and Bethlehem sit at the heart of biblical Judea. So there's a lot of biblical significance to that region.
Mm-hmm.
So we had an opportunity to go there this last summer, 2025. And the most amazing thing was I've been going to Israel for 20 years now. And this was I've never been there before, never been to Efrat. Didn't even know really what it was all about. We just had a friend who said, hey, we have kind of an exclusive experience. Do you want to come?
Yep.
And we said, sure, why not? Here we go. Where are we going? What is this place? And I want to have you lean in on why were we the very first group since modern Israel to go to this spot, Efrat?
So the spot that you're referring to is the Solomon's Pools structures. Solomon's Pools are the largest man-made pools in all of Israel. There are 3 huge pools which were dug and built during the Hasmonean dynasty in the Second Temple era. And they were built with the purpose to collect all of the freshwater runoff and underground aquifer systems to provide fresh, clean drinking water to a growing, prosperous city of Jerusalem and to the temple specifically. The pools themselves where you visited, we had the privilege to be, actually have a very complicated and interesting story. Prior to 1993, the Oslo Accords, anybody could access them freely. And unfortunately, even though Prime Minister Rabin at the time who understood the significance to the shared Jewish-Christian narrative of the pools and the water system surrounding it, was insistent that they be zoned as part of Area C, which is full Israeli authority and oversight. Unfortunately, the military generals who were dividing up the map at the time did what they were told and circled the words Solomon's Pools as part of Efrat's municipal boundaries, not taking into consideration that immediately right above those words are the 3 pool structures themselves. And so whilst the words and the sign became part of Efrat municipal boundaries, pools themselves are actually not under our authority. They're under the Palestinian Authority. So to access them, to get there, is a tricky situation. It's something that we as a municipality and as a foundation, which I have the privilege of leading, are actively involved in seeking to restore and replenish the water source to bring them back to their biblical glory.
Dad, tell us. You remember it was not easy. It was a schlep, is what we call it.
Oh yeah.
Give us a picture, Dad. Just remind yourself and remind us.
Yeah.
What that day was
painful, like. Walking down a lot of the dirt roads and walking through craggy areas, little drop down cliff areas and all that. And unfortunately, I actually fell.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And Tal from
Ohad Tal
was right behind me, and he grabbed me before I went too far, but
threw you on his shoulders and carried you the rest of the way.
Well, not quite.
Wonderful public servant he is.
Yeah. But I did have thorns stuck in me there.
But
that's not the way it is now.
But but not only that, we were embedded with a unit from the IDF. There was a drone operator
above us,
following us just to make sure that everything was kosher on every side.
Yeah. Why is that we had to have all of that?
Well, because the pool structure themselves are considered part of Area A, which means that they're under the supervision of the Palestinian Authority. So to access them isn't as simple as any other tourist site in terms of its accessibility. So to get there requires, unfortunately, a military presence. It's something that we're in the process of seeking to change, to lighten the footprint. But that's what it requires. Since then, we're happy to know that we've now paved an access road, a tarred road. You can drive down to the base of the pools.
Yeah.
What took you must have been something like 30 minutes walking down, trekking, down the hill. Now you can get there within 2-3 minutes. And it's a major development.
If you pay extra, though, you can get Ohad to take you down. He'll just carry you if you want.
I think the road that they made is going to be a lot better. That's the Alta Kaka road. Right?
That's the Alta Kaka road. But I think that speaks to our vision that these pools and the entire water system surrounding it should be accessible for all people to experience and walk in the footprints of the Bible.
Yeah.
It is a treasure which we feel is deserving of restoration and replenishment.
Yeah. This is actually in Judea, Samaria area.
This is in Judea, yeah. So Judea, we know specifically, Efrat and Bethlehem is the heart of the biblical tribe of Judea, just outside the temple. We know that the temple is situated between the tribal lands of Judea and Benjamin.
Yeah.
And Judea, where Efrat and Bethlehem are, the ancient homeland of King David. We know that King David is born in the hills of Bethlehem, shepherding his flocks around there. The biblical story of Ruth and Boaz, which you read on the festival of Shavuot, takes place around Bethlehem. And Samson, one of his battles against the Philistine tribes, takes place in the ancient hill of Etam, which is a hilltop part of the Efrat municipal boundaries.
Yeah, and what is really important for our audience to understand, for Christians who are listening to us here, is this area is the indigenous area of the Jewish people, and has been for thousands of years. Unfortunately, it's not called Judea today. They don't refer to it that way.
No,
right?
Correct. So for those of us who know a little bit about biblical Jewish history, we know that at the time the nation actually self-divided into two separate kingdoms: the kingdom of Judea and the northern kingdom of Israel. And during the Babylonian conquest, the Assyrian conquest, eventually, there's a precursor to the Babylonian conquest of the land. Those 10 tribes that constituted the kingdom of Israel were the first to be dispersed. And so the remaining tribes, Judah and Benjamin, tribes in which safeguarding the temple, the Judah, we know, Jews, Yehudah, became the precursor to the modern Jew.
Right.
And so it's for that reason the terminology is very significant, and I think it's testament to the fact that the role of Judah, the placement, the location, the geography of Judah has a universality to it.
Yeah. And we're talking about an area that is specifically having a history,
Yes.
a long history with Israel. Unfortunately, they don't refer to that today. Most people out there give it a different name, which we don't use, but people call it the West Bank.
West Bank, of the Judanian River, the western bank of the Judanian River. It's important to understand that that this is the heartland of the Jewish people's ancient civilization in the land of Israel.
Yeah.
I think anybody who is intellectually and emotionally honest to that narrative understands the appropriate terminology. Specifically, there is definitely Judea.
Yeah. That's really an important thing, I think.
Absolutely. We know that even the term Palestine, in and of itself, is an indigenous. That was a Roman terminology to Palestina.
Right.
So the Palestinians, the Philistines, biblically, we know were seafarers from the Aegean Islands.
Yeah. It was trying to erase any biblical reference of the Jewish people to the area.
And I think the Solomon's Pools is really a typified, example of that trajectory, that intention.
Yeah. Let's talk about water.
Yeah.
Water obviously means life and survival in Israel. And you almost have to get up and above Efrat to be able to understand how it all flows. You got to look at a map. And most people, if you haven't been there, you don't realize that Jerusalem is in the mountains. You have Psalm 125. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, right? The Lord surrounds his people from this time forth and forevermore. But when you go to Jerusalem, you ascend.
Yes.
And then Efrat is about 7 to 9 miles just south of Jerusalem.
It's about 7 miles.
7 miles.
7 miles. So it's very close. Yeah.
And so the water that is flowing, that's coming from the Solomonic pools, is actually going to Jerusalem.
Correct.
Why is this important?
Well, firstly, the water that flows is the collective catchment from all the overflow, from all the flowing water through the topography of the Judean hills. At the end of the day, for a city to survive, it requires at its core water and a constant flow of water, drinkable water. And so that played a critical role just in terms of sustaining what was, the centerpiece, if you will, of the Jewish nation, of the Jewish nation in Israel. More than that, water plays not just a physical role, but also has a very strong spiritual association. Water, we know, is used in ritual baths, for purification purposes, and also in temple services. Water was a constant requirement in temple practice, and so the water flowing there has not only physical, sort of existential relevance, but also deep-seated spiritual purpose as well.
So this is the water that's flowing into the temple. We read about Josephus and the sacrifices of tons and tons of lambs, but you have to actually clean out and cleanse. So water is very, very significant to this story. And I thought, you drive through, you go from Jerusalem and you drive down to the Bethlehem, Efrat area.
Correct.
It doesn't look like there's a lot of water. You showed me a video.
Yep, absolutely. You can see the map. And I think that sort of typifies just the issue that we're speaking about. When one nation is bent on, I'll use this in quotation marks, a sort of replacement theology, if you will.
Yep.
Seeking to replace an indigenous narrative with a biased placement style narrative.
Yeah. Erroneous.
Exactly. Archaeology and heritage artifacts, heritage places, which tell the story, a testament to that story, are themselves, up for grabs and subject, unfortunately, to misappropriation. And so the absence of water there is not by accident; it is intentional, in the hope that in the hope that by bringing in a certain type of a narrative which counters will be successful, in usurping the indigenous right and claim to it.
Yeah. You have a book here.
I have a book, yeah.
And so for those of you who are listening to the podcast only, you're going to miss some of this. But I'll get some pictures. We'll put this up on the website as well. But show to the camera here. We're going to go on the wide shot there. Give us just a couple highlights of what you might be able to find in here and what you're trying to do right now to restore this site.
Correct. So what you'll see over here are the 3 pools. Unfortunately, only one of them has some water in it. And our efforts are very much geared towards replenishing the water source there, clean drinking water. We know that the underground aquifer water is tested by the Israeli Water Authority and is graded as of the purest grade in terms of drinkability.
Wow.
And so that this should be a place where people can come and enjoy, both for recreational purposes, and for spiritual and for spiritual experiences. We'll see over here also the proximity to the town of Bethlehem, as well as also the proximity to the town of Efrat. It's merely a couple hundred meters. And so what we want to ensure is that, access to it is made as simple, as easy and smooth as possible.
Thank you.
On the other page, what you'll see over here is really just the depth, and you get a real appreciation for the sheer enormity of the structures. Collectively, they hold some 290,000 cubic meters of water.
How many?
290,000 cubic meters.
Wow.
It's and the number doesn't make even any sense, but I will tell you, it's the largest pool, and there were 3 of them, the largest ones I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
correct.
Gigantic.
And what you'll see over here, is just the architectural brilliance, engineering marvel, which I think by any standard is impressive. But this is what we're looking to restore.
Mm-hmm. What would that 290,000 meters? What would that?
Well, that supply is some 300. I don't know that in gallons. It's probably a significant amount.
Yeah.
But it supplied fresh drinking water in huge quantities to Jerusalem to the mid 1970s, where thankfully the scale of Jerusalem's the resettlement of Jerusalem has required additional pumping systems, and so it has made it somewhat redundant. But beyond that, there's clearly a very dominant and significant biblical priority in restoring its glory.
Yeah.
And what we're looking to do, is to not only just restore the center, restore the structure, the facility, but to build a visitor center which encapsulates the story, encapsulates the narrative, and allows anybody visiting the area. So that it shouldn't just be an off the highway experience, but we want Efrat and its overlooking of Bethlehem to be an absolute tourist and pilgrimage stop. And the visitor center, together with the water park and the pools themselves, have to be should be a must on anybody's Israel visit.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, guess what? We'll be going to Israel again in the future, many times. So when we go to Israel, sometimes you can't get into Bethlehem these days, especially. But this will definitely be a stop for us in the future. So we're very excited.
Definitely reach out to us, and if we can be of any assistance in facilitating your visit to Efrat, to the Solomon's Pools, we'd absolutely be delighted to host you.
Yeah, and these pools have been there for a long time.
They've been there for several thousand years. They're from the Hasmonean dynasty, Second Temple period.
Yeah.
Just go back at least 2,000 years.
Yeah.
That is a significant, inspiring experience to be privy to.
I thought the Jewish people were only there since 1948.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're immigrants too.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Well, Ryan Levin, thank you so much.
It has been a pleasure.
Thank
you for hosting me. I really do appreciate it.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom to everyone.